Here, I was asked by a member of our All Access coaching group to record a video about using some of your book profits as fundraisers for charity. This is one of the things that I love about being an author and about being indie specifically. So I wanted to just share some ideas, especially right now as people are finding ways to kind of pull together and encourage people through this pandemic. I hope that you guys are staying safe and healthy and just sane throughout this whole time. And I don't mean that flippantly, like I know that it's hard. Don't worry if your productivity isn't up to where it normally is. I think there's this pressure that since a lot of authors work from home anyway, it's kind of like, well, what's the big deal? You should be writing just as much, if not more, than you did before, but there's a lot of extra stress. There's a lot of family dynamic shifts, especially if you have like a spouse or kids at home that you're not used to. So please continue to be gentle with yourself and your creativity. But if you want some ideas about fundraisers, I wanted to throw out there some of the things that I've done or have seen other authors do, with a quick caveat that I can't give, obviously, tax advice and things like that. So that would be something that you would need to talk to your accountant about. There are certain things that you can do that could count as a tax deductible donation, stuff like that. I'll talk about them loosely, but this can't be considered actual advice because I'm not qualified to give you that. So something I love about running fundraisers for charity is I love having the sense that my books are more than just entertainment. But again, right now, especially, writing books for entertainment is absolutely enough. This is what is going to get certain people through this pandemic. So even if you're not donating $100,000 to Red Cross or to research to get a COVID-19 vaccine created and discovered, your words as an author are still so important in the lives of your readers. So I don't want you to listen to this and feel like added pressure that, okay, now in addition to just staying healthy and safe and trying to write, now you've also got to think about charities. Don't want to add pressure, but sometimes doing fundraisers for charity can be such a great way to feel good about what you're doing, give purpose to what you're doing. And there are ways that you can run fundraisers where it also builds community with your readers, which is one of the parts that I love most about this. So let's rewind about 6 years ago. I wrote my first novel. Man, we're at 7 years now. I think I just celebrated my book anniversary. So happy 7 years of being a published author to me at some point in this month. I'd have to go back and look at the actual date. But 7 years ago, I published my first novel, The Beloved Daughter, which is set in North Korea. And it really highlights a lot of the religious persecution and human rights abuses that are going on there. And so really from day one, I've been partnering with an organization called Liberty in North Korea to help raise funds for their Underground Railroad for refugees. And so I've done quite a few different things. At some different points in time, I've picked like a certain week and I've let my readers know, and Liberty in North Korea has let their followers know on social media, like all the proceeds from this book for this amount of time are going to be donated to Liberty in North Korea. It's one way you can do it. I also, every so often, will just send Link or Liberty in North Korea a batch of my books that they can give to distribute to their donors, things like that. And then one of the ongoing things that I've got is my Patreon page, where every month people get free ebooks or audiobooks. Depending on what level they've signed up for, you can get like up to 3 ebooks and 1 audiobook a month. And I think there's even a paperback tier. So they sign up for that, and then the money raised goes directly to Link. Like it never even touches my account. And that is a really neat way to have kind of ongoing support for this organization, and also to build the sense of community so that my readers really feel like they're making an impactful difference. Even if they're just putting in $3 a month, they can look back and I can say, hey, you know what? Our reading community has raised tens of thousands of dollars to help North Korean refugees. And that's pretty exciting. So there are a couple different things you need to keep in mind to just make all of this totally above board. And if you have questions, I'm not the expert in this. So all I'm qualified to tell you is how I've set it up. But you want to make sure that let's say that you are picking a charity that you feel really strongly in, and you want your readers to know, hey, money I earned from this book or a portion of my royalties is going to this charity. The one thing you do want to be a little bit careful of is that you don't word it so that it looks like there's an implied endorsement from that charity. So worst case scenario, let's say that you decide that you want to donate half of your proceeds to the Humane Society, and you write a book about a mad scientist who's the hero of the story, who's like capturing animals and torturing them for science experiments. Obviously, the Humane Society is not going to want to be affiliated with a book like that if that guy is portrayed as the hero. That's kind of a hyperbole, for example. But again, you have to be careful, especially if you're writing anything that could be somewhat controversial, or if you're the kind of person who posts a lot of political memes that could be divisive. You don't want people going back and blaming the organization for being affiliated with you if there's no official affiliation there. So what that means is you got to be really, really careful with your wording just to make sure that it doesn't sound as if the organization that you're raising funds for is actively endorsing you, unless they actually are. And in this case, it could be something like, hey, Liberty in North Korea is running a link sale this week. All of my books are half off and money goes right to the Underground Railroad. If there's an actual partnership there, then you have a little bit more freedom. But I would encourage you, if you want to stay just totally above board, maybe even run the wording by someone in that organization to make sure that it all is above board and that you're not misrepresenting yourself or the charity or your relationship with the charity. The other area where authors might get into a little bit of just trouble legally is when it comes to what is a tax deduction, what's a business expense, what's a charitable donation, and all of this. So if all you're doing is writing a check or sending funds to an organization, it really can't be considered a business expense. The things that could be considered actual business expenses, and again, this is something that is between you and your tax prep person, but as I kind of keep it separated in my mind, if, for example, when I send a dozen books to Liberty in North Korea, and I say, here are books that you can give away. I know you're going to be at this college campus doing a fundraiser awareness, and I want to donate my books to you so that you can pass them out to people. That I can treat as a business expense, because in a way it's kind of like advertising. It would be similar to if I were to mail my book to a review person on Instagram. I can count that as a business expense. So actually giving goods like your book to the organization, in most cases, it seems as if you could call that a business expense and just deduct that right off of your profit. What you can't do is say, okay, I'm going to make this week all of my books, I'm going to send half of my money to this organization. And then when you write a check to that organization, that's not a business expense. So as long as the organization is an actual nonprofit, you can deduct that as a personal deduction, like as a personal tax write-off, but it actually is not a business expense. So you have to be a little bit careful. If you're getting to where you're like passing thousands and thousands of dollars and raising that much, like the money's coming into you and then you're giving thousands of dollars to another organization, you want to be a little careful that you talk to somebody, because you might end up having to be taxed on that money as profit, even though you're giving it away. There's going to come a point where I think it's like $24,000. There's a cap, like it's pretty high. If you donate more than that, then you do start being able to deduct, but that's a pretty high cap. So again, that's the area that I'm not qualified to tell you what to do. I'm just qualified to tell you check with an expert on how that works. That's one reason why my Patreon page, the money goes directly to Liberty in North Korea. And that way it's not counted as profit to me. It's also not counted as a deduction to me, but at least I'm not getting taxed on that. Another thing I do when I'm running fundraisers for charity that I also recommend you do is I never give the exact amount because I don't want to open myself up to like nitpickers. So that's why I'll never say half of all royalties this week are getting donated to Liberty North Korea. I'll just say something like a portion or a large portion because you know how bookkeeping can be, and especially like if you're just in KDP, it's going to be easier, but I'm wide. And so I don't want to have to go into every single dashboard and be like, okay, how many books did I sell on Nook this week? How many books did I sell on Koba this week? And so I never state specifically like 10% is going to here. I have that number in my mind, and I kind of morally feel obligated to maintain that number in my own mind, but I don't put that number out there in public just because I don't want to have to be that nitpicky that we go down to the dollars and cents. And, you know, I'll round up anyway, so it's fine, but I just don't want to accidentally, you know, miscalculate something and then feel like I've lied to my readers by saying it was going to be, you know, a specific percentage. So those are some thoughts about fundraising. Another thing that I did recently that had a lot of good feedback and good success was a pay what you can ebook bundle. And I set this up on a site called Gumroad that allows you to sell digital products, but you don't have to set a price. You can set a price, but you don't have to. And so I just set it as a pay what you can. And there were two sides of it. So I sent out an email. This was a couple weeks ago, right when people were trying to stockpile and realizing that we're going to be stuck indoors for quite a while. And so I sent an email out to people and said, hey, if you need groceries or toiletries or things like that, fill out this form. It was just a Google form that kind of gave them an area to say like what they needed and kind of the extent of their need. And then in that same email, I sent out a link to this Gumroad product where it was, hey, you can get, I think it was 15 of my ebooks for a pay what you can. So get your e-readers filled, right? Because we're going to be inside reading. And in addition, a chunk of what we raise is going to help people in our readers group who need groceries and things. And so I was able to kind of take what people filled out in the form of what they needed for groceries and things and take some of the funds that we got from that Gumroad and just basically create several Amazon orders to ship to those people. And again, it was a really neat way to build a sense of community within the group, which is one of the real benefits of fundraisers. So there's lots of things that you can do. Another thing that I sometimes do for myself, if I need a little extra motivation to get my word counts in, is I actually allow myself to donate a certain amount for every 1,000 words I write. So let's say I'm struggling to finish my 60,000 word manuscript. And I say, okay, well, for every 1,000 words you complete, you can put, you know, $1 in this piggy bank. And when your book's done, you get to donate it to this organization that you like. It again is just increasing your momentum and your motivation to keep on writing because you realize that your words are actually and actively making a positive difference in the world, which is a great feeling. And again, especially at this time, I just want to encourage all of you writing that our books are so important right now. I truly believe our books are saving lives because they're giving people the escape that they're needing right now. They're giving people something to look forward to in terms of something to, you know, have to keep them company, right, during this really hard time. So I hope that this gave you some practical tips, maybe got your wheels turning, especially right now when there are so many needs. I hope that it's given you some ideas of maybe ways that you can reach out to your own readers community to run a kind of fundraiser if you wanted to do that. And thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you later.